Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews. And on behalf of the Franchise Interviews family, we'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Today, Franchise Interviews is honoring our military that have died in the wars. You know, over the last 5 years, we've had some fantastic guests to discuss military veterans that have become franchisees. Our first guest on today's show is Sean Falk. And Sean is a former U.S. Marine infantry officer who served in more than 8 years of active duty and reserves, including tours in Operation Desert Storm and Bosnia. Sean today owns more than 10 franchise businesses in several states. In part 2, we're meeting with Derek Henze of Topper's Pizza, and I had the opportunity of meeting Derek several years ago at a collegiate entrepreneurs conference, and it's great to see him doing so well. So, very great show today. I hope you enjoy, and again, have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise Interviews. For over 4 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get inside tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Check out our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where for over 5 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And today, Franchise Interviews is celebrating 5 years and 250 shows. And right now, Don, we're finally going to get to talk about a topic that you and I are both very passionate about, and that's veterans and small business ownership. And according to a recent Small Business Administration study, veterans in the private sector are at least 45% more likely than those with no active duty military experience to be self-employed. And today we have the honor of meeting with Dan Benton, who is a West Point graduate who retired from the U.S. Army after 34 years at the rank of Lieutenant General, and now he manages an international and domestic franchise development for Global Franchise Group and Great American Cookies. And we're also meeting with Dan, and actually is Sean Falk, and a former U.S. Marine infantry officer who served for more than 8 years in active duty and reserves, including tours during Operation Desert Storm. Hey, Sean and Dan, how you guys doing today? Welcome to the show.
Doing great, thank you.
That's great. It's great to have both of you on the show. And joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, and I know, Don, you wanted to say hi to Sean and Dan.
Thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you both. As Marty said in the intro, it's just something that we're very passionate about, franchising in general, but for people like yourselves in your background, it looks like it's a perfect fit for franchising. And, you guys can be the mentors and leaders of people coming back from active duty and looking for a business opportunity. So I'm sure a lot of people will be listening to the show.
Outstanding.
Yeah, this is a topic, as Don was saying, Sean and Dan, I mean, it is very close to our heart. This was last year I had my first publication on veterans and franchising, and I got to present the topic in Athens, Greece, and also at George Mason University. So it's something that we've been studying for a very long time now. I thought that we could dive right into it and, just start off. What are some of the obstacles facing veterans as they exit the armed forces?
Well, this is Sean, by the way. I think one of the obstacles compared to like when I got out back in the early 90s, mid-90s, is that, we had Operation Desert Storm, and it was a relatively quick conflict. So, sure, we had veterans coming back, but there wasn't as much of a job issue back home as there is today. But today, we've been in a conflict that's been almost 10 years now, and we've got tens of thousands of veterans coming back that, for the most part, haven't had a lot of peacetime experience. They've had wartime experience. And there's some employers out there who don't think that they're bringing skills, but they actually are. They're bringing incredible leadership skills back. They have been able to operate independently with small units. They've made decisions about people and things and assets all by themselves without somebody else breathing down their neck and telling them exactly what to do. So they've got a lot of experience to come back and run an organization, especially a small business.
That's a good point, and now it's tough because of the bad economy and problems with lending. But the flip side is with more experience overseas, they're probably even better qualified. Maybe because because the wars have gone on so long, to be in a position if they could, do that type of work and have that type of leadership and skills and experience. I would think running a franchise is pretty simple. No business is easy, but so you have the good and the bad right now going on. The tough economy, tough lending, but so many qualified people. It gets Marty and I angry because we've read so many articles, Marty, over the years about veterans and franchising. It's such a perfect fit. I really wish there was more incentives and programs that our government and other, the IFA is doing a great job. We have, the Steve Caldiero coming on later, but more has to be done, to get these people jobs, period.
Right. And, one of the things I like to say is the United States military, I think, is the perfect example of a franchise system. Here's a system where they've already figured everything out. True. They bring you in. They want to train you their way. And if you do what they ask you to do and how they ask you to do it, you're going to be real successful, and you're going to reap rewards. Well, a franchise system is the same way. Like Great American Cookies, it's been around since 1977. We figured out how to bake cookies, how to pick the right locations, how to market the product. We're going to bring in a young veteran. He's going to be able to follow the system that he gets trained on, and as long as he goes out there and execute, because that's what he's been doing for the last 5 to 10 years, is executing a system, he's going to be successful. We really don't need him to know how to bake cookies and roll pretzels and stuff like that. We need him to come in with a work ethic and the leadership and a will to win and that desire to make things happen. That's what's going to make him successful.
Yeah, and if you speak to, we've been doing the show now 5 years, Sean, and that's why we wanted you guys on the show, because we think it's a special show. But it's always been a common theme, right, Don? I mean, for 250 shows, the franchisor always says, we're looking for someone who can follow a system. And there's not really a lot of people out there that can follow a system. John Hayes says that franchising isn't for everyone, and it's probably not for most people because they have that difficulty in following that system, which is what became my obsession in veterans going into franchising. It did seem like a perfect fit for me, and a lot of the information I found, supported that information. By the way, So
yeah, I think they have a leg up in the way of following something, and so like. What we're trying to do that's different, the IFA, the International Franchise Association, and more specifically Great American Cookies, is we're trying to give a discount to the initial franchise fee to further incentivize these young men and women to come back into franchising when they get out of the military. So our discount is 40% off of the initial franchise fee. And in order to be a member of VetFran, which is a committee within the International Franchise Association, you have to offer your most aggressive discount to veterans. And then you can be a member of that organization. There's a lot of organizations out there that are doing it, and ours is very aggressive with the 40% discount.
Part of the issue, guys, is here we have qualified people and veterans coming back. So there's no question as far as the work ethic and the leadership, the experience in running a franchise. The problem is, the heroes coming home to our country, because of their sacrifice, sometimes their net worths are low, and they haven't been able to have the same earning potential of someone just working here in the U.S. So even though there's, I feel still more has to be done. A lot of times, and I also specialize in franchise financing for the last 13 years. So it's great to give to have a franchise fee discount. But I think still more has to be done. Maybe not from the franchisor, but other programs nationally, because a lot of times the veteran doesn't have the collateral or things needed to try to secure a small business loan, or maybe doesn't have the family that can help. There are a lot of good lower investment size franchises, but a lot of good franchises cost in that $150 to $250 range. So that's sometimes where it's tough for that person to get into franchising. I wish there were better programs. I get calls from veterans every week. Would love to be able to see more in business and also succeeding.
Sure. There's two things in there that you said that I'd like to comment on, and one of them is other people kind of getting involved and having more systems. And I can't specifically speak for other members of the IFA, like some of the supplier members, but even the suppliers are offering like their first order at a discount or with no markup. So there are other people that are trying to get in and give as much assistance in the beginning as possible to get their foot in the door and to get them off the ground. And then the second thing that you mentioned in there was about money saved up. I think you're right that there are some people that come back from the military and maybe they have circumstances at home. Maybe they left a family behind and they still have to completely support. Maybe they're the sole breadwinner and stuff like that. So those are obviously difficult situations. But at the same time, there is an opportunity for them to save significant amounts of money while they're deployed because, one, they don't have a chance to spend it because they're in battle, but they also get some combat pay in there, and they get some dislocation allowance and stuff like that. So there is sometimes people who are coming back with kind of a nice stash saved up. It's not the 150 that you're talking about or the 250, but it's definitely enough to put the down payment on something, maybe use the Patriot Express loan with the SBA program and get some help that way to get everything kind of shooting in the right direction.
That's a good point with the SBA. I think there should be a program where no collateral is required. Just come up with a down payment, maybe less than the normal down payment on a new franchise business, usually 20 to 30%. Have a veteran put down 10%, no collateral required, and have a certain minimum credit score. And as long as that veteran's approved by the franchise system, hey, they get the funding that's needed. Something like that has to be done. Because right now, too much emphasis on like if they're investing in a food franchise, you have to have food experience. It has to be at least 50% collateral and a 700-plus credit score. And no one's going to have all that. And veterans who've done their sacrifice and put in their time, now looking to work, is willing to work hard, roll up their sleeves, get to work, because there's a very high chance it's not going to be from lack of effort and experience, like I mentioned before. But there has to be more. The SBA is the perfect program to do this, but it doesn't.
Right. Right. You're exactly right that they're the kind of guys that are going to come back and they are going to roll up their sleeves and they're going to work hard. They're used to these 20-hour days working in the sun. So they're going to come back and they're going to put every ounce of energy they have into making a business successful. And I think that is a big difference between a veteran and someone who's a civilian who's been back here and maybe doesn't know what they're doing in life and wants to take a chance. And the veterans, I think, they bring so much more experience to the table because of their leadership that they've had so far. They're
going to say, what's this, a 12-hour workday and I have air conditioning?
Right.
This is a no-brainer.
This is a cake job.
Well, it's interesting, Sean. You've been successful in franchising. It sounds like you're up to 10 franchise businesses now in several states. Did you want to talk a little bit about that as far as which ones you got into and what your experience has been like? Owning 10, because it's much more complicated, of course, than running one.
Right. Well, when I got out in 1994, actually 97, once I got done with my reserve duty and everything, I decided to go into corporate America. I always wanted my own business, but I didn't know if I was completely ready yet. So I went into corporate America, ran a real successful business, learned more about profit and loss and all that stuff, and then I decided that I was ready after about 3 years, and so I opened up my first cookie concept in 1998 and then went with pretzels. And so now I've got 4 Great American Cookies, 3 pretzel makers. I've got 2 Mrs. Fields cookies and then a Salsaritas Fresh Cantina, which is a fast casual Mexican food concept. And I'm in 3 states right now, Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky. We're actually expanding into Tennessee next year with a couple more locations in cookies and pretzels. And so again, here's, I think, a perfect example of how the military has helped me. I don't know if all our listeners will understand, but I went from a fire team to a squad to a platoon to a company, and I'm trying to work on the battalion level, and that's that unit growth of understanding what it takes to not only run and operate and be the main person in a unit, but then how to expand and be the leader of a bigger unit, and then build a support team underneath you with an operations person and an executive assistant and all these things along the way. So you need to know how to tier those things along the way. And really with cookies and pretzels, for example, I mean, the operations are relatively simple once you learn them, and that is why it can be replicated so well. And I think a lot of concepts out there, a lot of franchise concepts are like that, again, the franchise system has already figured out how to do everything. So if you go in there and you learn it and you execute it, that's what's going to make you successful.
Wow. Dan, I have a question, Dan, for you. Which was the easiest, basic training at West Point, being a lieutenant general in the Army, or having a high management position for a large company?
I think we lost Dan, Don.
Yeah, I'm not sure Dan's
connected.
Oh, that was a great question.
Yeah, but how about the industry, though, Sean? I mean, what was it about that particular industry and those? You know, there's so much out there to choose from today. Don and I say it's probably more difficult than ever to make a choice as far as what franchise system you're going to go with, because there's just too many choices. What led you to make this decision to go with these systems that you selected?
Well, yeah, I always liked food, number one. I mean, not just to eat it, but to make it and everything. I always kind of liked doing that growing up. But I think when you try to figure out what you want to do in life, I think you can use some skills that you maybe learned when you were in high school or before you went into the military. Maybe you worked for a heating and cooling guy, and maybe you want to do something like that, or a plumbing system, or maybe you want more of a service-oriented operation compared to, a mall-based or a food or selling cell phones, whichever it is. So I think that you can kind of choose by just knowing a little bit what you're interested in doing, because, again, it ends up being just executing a system. You don't need experience in selling cell phones or making signs or selling food. You just have to come in and learn.
Well, that's interesting. What about the Great American Patriot Program? What's that all about, Sean?
Yep. Well, we have a website, greatamericancookies.com, and on the bottom we have a link to our Great American Patriot Program, and that's kind of what I was explaining earlier, where it'll talk about that 40% discount on our initial franchise fee. It's normally $25,000, so you're going to get 40% off, and it'll have information on there on how to sign up to get more information. You can get it in a webinar, where you can just go online and see what's happening and see what they're talking about, or you can ask to have one of our development representatives call you back and talk person to person with someone and get all your questions answered right away. And the Great American Patriot Program was our first step into offering veterans an opportunity, but we've also expanded it into our Pretzel Maker brand and our Marble Slab Creamery brand. So we believe in it. We've had a lot of interest in it. So we want to make sure that the opportunity exists across all our brands.
So you're also, Sean, with Global Franchise Group, along with Dan?
Well, I'm a franchisee with Global Franchise Group. I own the store, so I don't work with them, but Dan works
with them. Not corporate, okay. Yeah,
I'm not a corporate guy.
So it sounds kind of obvious, but why did GFG Management start this program then, Sean? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think they saw the opportunity out there to find someone who is going to come in and execute that system. Like you were saying a minute ago about there's some people out there who franchising ends up not being right for them. They think they can either do it better or what corporate says it doesn't work for them. So we have those franchisees as well. Some of them who just kind of buck the system along the way. And sometimes, they have great ideas, but other times it almost seems like they make it harder for themselves. If they would just execute the system, they would be so much better off. So, in me talking to our franchisor, and they saw my success, and I do preach talking about the system. I say the system's there, execute it. Just follow along. And I'm not saying that you just have to be a sheep and just do whatever they tell you. I question them at times. I challenge them at times. I say that I don't think that's going to work, and we work together to try to make changes. So I'm not saying that you have to come in and just be blind and walk along the way, but I am saying that person, like a veteran, who comes in and understands that it's collaborative work, working together to make things better, I think that is the person that they're really looking for. So they saw an opportunity in offering it to veterans, and with the programs that are out there with the IFA and the VetFran system that's out there, knowing that there's tens of thousands coming back every year right now, we saw an opportunity to take advantage of people who are going to be successful.
Wow. So what should veterans consider when contemplating franchising then, Sean? What would you say to them?
Well, I think they should consider, like what we were talking about earlier, kind of what they're interested in the first place. Definitely do a lot of due diligence. Make sure that you understand what you're getting into. Ask a lot of questions. I would encourage them to ask if in the system that they're interested in, like Great American Cookies, ask if they have veterans in their system already and try to talk to them, because I think a veteran talking to a veteran gives a whole different perspective on things and an understanding of what it really takes to be successful in that system. And so ask that question, and you got to know your finances, and you got to know what the qualifications are, and that's part of the due diligence of knowing what you're getting into.
That's a good point. Just speaking to franchisees in general, too, try to speak to as many as you can. Do plenty of due diligence. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a lot of effort from the development team of a franchisor to say, hey, here's a list of franchisees that you may want to call and find out about our system. Well, I think if a veteran's coming in, they ought to say, well, are any of these veterans, and if not, can I talk to a veteran? And I think they have a whole different language that they communicate on, and I think that they can get a different picture and a more accurate picture that relates to them a little bit more.
It's also good to see so many franchise systems part of the VetFran program.
Exactly. Yeah, we have many. I think there's 1,200 now that are participating in the VetFran program. So a lot of people are jumping on board and they want to do it. Great American Cookies, we've committed to hiring 150 veterans before 2014, either in positions in our stores or as franchisees. And what we'd really love is to have them as franchisees. We think that they'll be successful running a business and making our system great. And think about it. If they come in and they open up a store, say we got 150 vets who open up a store, they're going to employ anywhere between 6 and 15 people maybe. So there's a nice jobs growth plan right there. Give the veteran an opportunity to open up a business and most likely run it successfully, and he or she's going to provide hundreds of jobs along the way to a lot of people.
That's a nice incentive program right there. Any veteran opens a business, and even additional incentives to hire one or more other veterans.
Absolutely.
But it's so I think that's a no-brainer. It's just frustrating programs like that are not in place. Is there anything else, Sean, you want to talk about the IFA and VetFran as it relates to GFG management?
Well, if you guys got some of the notes in the beginning, IFA has pledged to do 80,000 veterans before 2014 as a whole of all the people participating in VetFran. And again, that's people coming into the franchise system as a franchisee and as an employee, either in their own organization of a franchisor or managing a store. So what we're trying to do is match everybody together. And even I was at an IFA event last week, and I said, where is there a list of veterans specifically? Instead of going to one of the job boards and just searching for people and maybe finding out that they're veterans, I want to go right to a veterans board and find out more information about these guys and gals who are looking for jobs and who are going to this particular area back home, and they want either a job or they want a franchise, and we're gonna help them get in there.
And like any small business owner, just don't think because you're opening up a Subway, it's going to be simple. It's going to be easy. Just put the sign out. It requires hard work. I'm sure that's everything you're passing on to your fellow veterans with no matter what the franchise, whether it's food, non-food, service, kiosk, mobile. It's all hard work. There's no shortcuts.
Yeah, the Marine Corps birthday was a couple of weeks ago, and the Commandant sent out a message to all the Marines, and they said something about, we want to remain America's premier fighting force, ready to take on all challenges that face us. And I would say the same thing about veterans getting out of the military. They're ready to take on all challenges. So, yeah, it's hard to open up the Subway or a Great American Cookies or a Fast Signs organization. But you know what? They're ready to take on the challenge and make it successful. They're ready to work those long hours. They're ready to work hard.
In a lot of ways, probably a better work ethic than your average American. I think it's safe to say that, right?
I think so. Yeah, they've been put through the ringer several times. They come with a little bit of a different work ethic, definitely.
Right.
Mm. The study that was done, Sean, by the SBA, it mentioned that at least 45% of veterans are more likely than those with no active duty military experience to be self-employed. Why do you think that is, and what's the explanation for that?
Well, I think one thing would be, as I mentioned a long time ago in the beginning of this interview, that they have been out there running a small unit operation very independently. Again, they may be a platoon leader or a company leader, and they're out there by themselves. They're making sure all the people underneath them have food and ammunition and supplies and all their equipment's taken care of. So, I mean, they have these people and things and these assets that they need to care for, keep inventory up. I mean, they've given themselves the opportunity to do everything that they would need to do in a small business, and they've done it in this small unit operation. So I think they kind of like that independence, and they like being in charge, and they like knowing that they made a decision and they're going to go out and execute it. That sounds like small business to me.
And managing people on a more deeper emotional, mental level than what you'd probably have to get into with employees. I
mean, you have to motivate them on a whole different level. And I think they have to figure out ways to motivate, to coach, to push, to make people get outside their comfort zone sometimes. So they've got all kinds of different things. They're dealing with people on an emotional level. They've left their family back home in the military. They've maybe had a person right next to them die because of the war. So they've got all kinds of different things that they have to focus on. And I think they may come back thinking it's probably going to be a little easier to just run a business, to just work, like you said, 12 hours a day in air conditioning and not have to worry about death or blisters or guns jamming up in the sand. So they're thinking that this is simple.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, they really are a unique type of entrepreneur when I'm talking about veterans, Sean. I mean, again, you mentioned something also as well as I think that they're also very teachable. They're open to learning. That's what I found in my research anyway, more than, let's say, the average person, who, let's say they've been working in corporate America for 20, 30 years, and they're not as open to learning new things. So it was one of the interesting things I found in my research as well, and also the element of taking risk, because, of course, there is some element, right, in taking risk, I guess, in joining the military to some extent. I also found that some who have served in the military for, it's 20, 30 years, sometimes they have this called post-retirement anxiety. They're still young after they get out of the military, and they don't really quite know what they want to do at that point, and found that, franchising would be a good fit for a lot of those as well.
Well, and you mentioned a minute ago about how they're real teachable. In the military, we train nonstop. Even when we're in war, we're training during our downtime. We're going over tactics. We're reinforcing the things that we've learned at boot camp or at leaders courses and stuff like that. So we're always training. It never stops, and that's why if they come into a business and they start running their own business, not only are they teachable in a franchise system, but they're always kind of focusing on their operation and making sure that their staff understands exactly what they need and expect and want out of the job that they're doing. So it's a nonstop process in the military.
Wow, it's interesting. So what's the best way for our listeners to get more information, Sean, on all these different services? Any websites you want to plug or any numbers that you can give out to give our listeners more information?
Yeah, once again, our website, greatamericancookies.com. And you can go there and you can find out about our Great American Patriot program. And then, if you're not interested in Great American Cookies and you're interested in other veteran programs, I think you can go to the International Franchise Association website. I'm not exactly sure of the website address, but you can also go to vetfran.org. I think it is. It's either org or com. Vetfran. VETFRAN. Yep, just like veteran franchising. Vetfran.com. So that'll also give you kind of a list of participating franchisors out there who are involved in this and who are excited about having veterans come into their system.
Wow. It's amazing. We'd love to have you come back on the show, Sean. There's just so much more to talk about. I'm glad that we got to talk to you on this particular day because this show is special to Don and I. Is doing the show 5 years and 250 shows, and want to thank you also for protecting and serving our country because if it wasn't for guys like you, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
We have the highest respect for you, and you have open invitation to come on our show anytime.
Call me back anytime. I'll be there.
Real good job, Sean, and I still would have liked for Dan to answer my great question I had before. But
I think he's happy with everything he's doing, and they've all been challenges, but he accepts the challenge.
Fantastic.
Thanks
and
again.
Have a happy Thanksgiving as well, Sean.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 4 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get inside tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Check out our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. Get 3 months of free advertising when you sign up for our 1-year package. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And as we were saying earlier, Don, we have a great show today because we're meeting with Derek Henry, new franchisee of Topper's Pizza. And Derek has signed for 3 stores in the Minneapolis, Minnesota market, expecting to open his first store in July of 2011. Hey, Derek, how you doing?
Good, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing great today, Derek. Derek, joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, and I know, Don, you wanted to say good morning to Derek.
Thanks for coming on, Derek. Looking forward to hearing your story and talking about toppers a little bit. You've always lived in Minnesota?
No, actually, this is a new location for me. I've never really lived up in Minnesota before.
Oh, okay. It's pretty cold up there, I know, Derek, right?
yeah.
Long winters.
Yeah, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I definitely...
Oh, okay. So you're used to it anyway. It's not a big change. Derek, I thought we could start off. Maybe you could tell. I know you, of course, but tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your background. You have an interesting story. Don and I were really excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah. It's right when I got out of high school, I joined the military, basically right after, and I was in the active Army for about 3 years. Ended up doing a tour over Iraq in the beginning of the war back in 2003. And then after the war ended, I got done with my tour. I came back to Wisconsin. And probably a month or so later, I joined college right away. And started going to college, and that's where my whole world kind of turned upside down. I was so involved with so many things, and just kind of, when you come back from the kind of extreme situation I did, I just kind of want to make the most out of life.
Right.
And, so I got really involved, and I started the chapter, the UW Whitewater chapter for the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. Mm-hmm. And from there, I really started get my hands into the world of business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Started starting some kind of social entrepreneurial ventures, nonprofit businesses, and it was really kind of a fun, interesting time in my life at that point. So, yeah.
Why franchising, Derek? It was interesting. I met you, God, I guess it seems like it was yesterday, but I guess it was maybe about 3 years ago in Chicago. And I was surprised when I was out spending all the time with the collegiate entrepreneurs at the national conference. I was surprised at how many of them didn't want to go into franchising. I'm not saying I was disappointed, but a lot of them expressed that they'd want to be like an entrepreneur and go work for a company like a 3M, or they were the entrepreneur, or they wanted to play the role of the franchisor. I didn't get too many people saying that they wanted to become a franchisee. So Don and I thought it was interesting that you chose that route, and we had I don't know if you heard last week's show, Derek, but it reminds us a lot of your story. It was a younger gentleman, much younger than Don and I, was pretty much out of college. He went the franchise alternative as well, and he went into a Buffalo Wild Wings franchise, which I'm sure you're familiar with. I think they're up in your part of the country as well. And I think he owns 15 of them, Don?
Yeah, it was a good amount, yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing story. So it kind of reminded me a bit of your story, too, as well. So I guess, why franchising, Derek?
Well, I guess, that's a really good question. And it's a really tough one for all business-minded people.
Yeah.
Because I really consider myself a very true and traditional entrepreneur. I love thinking ideas. I love the venture of a new startup. All that kind of stuff really plays into my personality.
Yeah.
And in the franchising world, they kind of are a little bit hesitant on getting too involved with really true entrepreneurs because they really want people that lock into a system.
Right.
However, the way I look at it is kind of, I kind of lined it up with my goals and what I wanted to do. And having really big ambitions, what I really saw is the opportunity of getting something going really quick. I'm fully confident that I could always start my own restaurant or pizza place or my own business. However, if you look at the timeline it would take you to develop the business, to get the right marketing niche and your business plan, and just develop everything to be even profitable. And you compare that to the franchising where a lot of that work's already done for you.
Right.
And they have the proven system, and they have a good franchise should have a good track record of what it means to be successful and what you have to do. So I like the idea that I could really hit the ground running with a business opportunity, and at the same time, not as much as I like all the business stuff that's involved with running your own business, I like the idea that I won't be distracted with worrying about how to lay out a menu or worrying about, all the small, intricate things. What new product should I put in my menu? I like the idea that I could focus on the most important thing, and to me that was the people in my business.
Do you think, Derek, that you would have done this anyway, go into franchising, or was it the military, giving you confidence, putting life in perspective, being overseas? Did that more motivate you, or you think you would have? You were kind of an entrepreneur in general, anyway.
Yeah, that's really funny because originally when I got out of the military, my whole goal was I thought I was going to be a stockbroker or financial advisor. That was kind of my goal. I actually started going to school for a finance major, and then as I was exploring, I had this conception of college as all these, highly advanced intellectual people that just sat around and talked, and and the reality of it is a lot of it is just we're young kids trying to figure out who we are in life.
Right.
And but the few individuals I did run into as I started to meet people and evolved in my network were these people that were very entrepreneurial. And that's when it was just like a bell. I was like, wow, that's it right there. Is I'm truly an entrepreneur and I love business. And like you guys said, it's the kind of the military that installed that discipline, but at the same time opened my eyes, saying that I want to make more of an impact than just holding a regular job somewhere.
Now, why the pizza industry and toppers? What made you go that route? There's so many, there's a few thousand different franchises, and especially in this industry, very competitive. I've been in franchising over 10 years. Go to trade shows. There's so many different pizza franchises. What was your thought process on that, Derek?
Yeah, I was kind of in a unique position. First of all, is when I was working going to school in college, I actually met the president of Topper's Pizza. Him and I served on a volunteer community board for the downtown city of Whitewater. And so we got acquainted, and what he did is he kind of saw this young, energetic guy and ended up offering me a job at the corporate office. And I thought that was really cool. I was really honored, and I took him up on it. So on that side, I got to see the internal functions of a franchise, and I got to develop a relationship and trust within a franchisor. I guess the other part of it is I really, when I was looking at what kind of business I want to go into, because even though I was working at Toppers, I wasn't quite sure if that was my path in life. So what I was looking at is what kind of business meets my personal goals, and what kind of business really reflects my personality.
Right.
So it's the way I see it. When you get into a franchise, you're not just getting into a business, but you're getting into a lifestyle. And I need to make sure that lifestyle was matched up to my personality. And I like to think I'm a very youthful-hearted man. I like to not have to be too serious. I like to have fun and joke around. And what better industry is there than the pizza industry?
Right, where you're talking to the public, where you're meeting people, seeing people, and that's always great. People coming in, they're happy with the food, the service. Talking with the owner, That's a good thing. So that's the story. You met the owner through college. You worked at corporate. You knew the ins and outs of the franchise. When did the franchise start? Maybe tell us a little more about Topper's history.
Yeah, Topper's. The first Topper's was opened in 1991 down in Champaign, Illinois. And at that time, the founder, Scott Gitrich, he originally was the area supervisor for Domino's. He oversaw several, I think about 20-plus stores. And but he kind of missed the bubble. He was working with them in the 80s when the concept of delivery was a new idea. And by the time he was ready to, what his goal was to originally franchise with Domino's, he realized that the opportunity was kind of gone. All the good places were taken, and at the same time, he realized he wasn't that impressed with the product. He thought he could make a much better product, a gourmet pizza, a more variety of a menu, and incorporate that into a similar concept with fast delivery, quick service. So that's when he went on his own to open Topper's, and not until probably 2003, 2004 did they actually really start franchising Topper's, and then ever since then it's been just a whirlwind. They're really on the cusp right now of really being something special.
Wow. Do they have a niche in the market, Derek? I mean, there's a lot of pizza franchises today to choose from, you know, and in my 10 years of doing it, you know, a lot of times they'll say is the sauce is like their niche in the market.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Topper's website right now, and I'm starving just looking at the pizza, you know. But so it looks fantastic. But what would you say is their niche? Do they have a specialty or anything like that, or?
Yeah. Well, they have. I guess with the niche, I would say two different things. One thing Topper's does really well is they really define their demographic. If you right when you get in that website, you can tell that they're not an ordinary stale pizza chain. We target, exactly. We target the youthful, hearted people, 18 to 34-year-olds, and we base our menu around that. And the two things that we're really known for is one is our what we call Topper sticks, and what that is a gourmet cheesy bread that comes with dipping sauces. And because we're based a lot out of college towns, it's a great party food. It's a great social food for people to pass around and whatnot. And then our key part of our menu is our gourmet pizzas, and that's kind of more towards the more sophisticated pizza person, if you will. You know, after the late nights and the college and having the fun and eating the Topper stick, and becoming them professional, their palate gets a little more sophisticated, and they start exploring more in our menu. And they say, wow, all this time they have these great gourmet pizzas as well.
Right,
awesome.
right. Wow.
So, yeah, I'd say conversion from one stage in a person's life into another. So
that's a good point you brought up, though, Derek.
Yeah.
A lot of younger people like yourself, and you know, and Mark and I, we've been doing the show over 4 years. It's always an interesting topic. Will a franchisor have confidence in someone kind of like, for example, in their mid-20s who maybe hasn't built up that work history or credit history or confidence, and but at the same time, it's a easier process to profitability, quicker. That's why what you liked about going into franchising. But you know, it's not going to be everybody. I guess maybe you're being mature for your age and working at corporate, having the military background. You're probably not the average person in their mid-20s went into franchise. I mean, a lot of people would not maybe have the confidence, but the franchise you get the training. So did you ever think about? I guess you worked for corporate, so you had the confidence that you really didn't have to have like maybe a person with experience in food that you can partner with or bring in that type of person. You just basically went for it. You had the confidence, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was, I guess the spirit of the entrepreneur, it's the blind confidence within us that's just kind of, I feel a lot of times that's kind of just hardwired into us that we don't even think about, like, wow, it might be possible we might fail. I don't even think of
right.
that. I just think that this is going to be great, and I'm going to work so hard, and my what I believe in is that if you really put your nose to the ground and you just really work hard, that that takes away 90% of the challenges. But yeah, it's really, there are sometimes I get, I ain't gonna lie, as much confidence as I have and good fundamental understanding I have of the business and the industry, there's a lot of unknowns I don't know. Like, for example, right now I'm going through leasing, finding locations and LOIs, and that's completely new to me. So, it's been a challenge in that part, or in that aspect, because you want to get a business open, and you're trying to learn as you go. So, yeah.
But like you said, franchising, much lower chance of failure, quicker to profitability. That's why Marty and I obviously are so pro-franchise. But you have to do your homework and your due diligence and choose the right system. And you didn't probably have to see, you might have already spoken to some of the other franchisees from just working at corporate. But also a lot of people in their mid-20s or late 20s sometimes don't have the financing to open up. But sometimes family will back them, or sometimes they have good credit, are in a position to get some money. So this is a really good opportunity for you. And sounds like you're going to have success, Derek. There's no doubt.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, Derek, when you started this whole process, I remember you did something very interesting. I think you were going to actually record this whole process or make it as like a documentary or something like that. There must have been a lot of hours of film. I can't imagine editing something like that. But I thought it was brilliant on your part. Once again, the entrepreneur in you to think of something like that, because I've never come across anyone who has done that. And I think you had something there. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as far as documenting your search?
Yeah, it was really interesting. Being involved with a lot of that CEO organization, I'm always looking to try to find ways to create tools to educate people in the business community. And one of the ideas I've always had is, the one thing I've never seen is a documentary of an individual going through the business process. Right. And it'd be really neat to see the emotions and what's involved and how they become and what hurdles they hit right in real time. And so that's what I did. As soon as I realized, after I think it was about working at corporate for about 4 years, I said, I really should be a franchisee. I really know how to make money in this business. And right when I thought that idea, I said, hold on, Derek, I need to record this. I'm like, okay. So it was literally the instant I came up with the idea of saying I should be a franchisee, I stopped everything. I went and I got my little flip video camera out, and I sat down and I started kind of doing a monologue and recorded myself and how I was feeling and how I came up with this decision, if you will. And I kept going with it. And it was a really interesting process because what I found when you do a documentary is you got to be very proactive, and you got to kind of anticipate the next steps, so you can kind of make a good dialogue with the camera. Right. And so I really pursued it really hard. I even used when I was searching for investors. I started taping myself cold calling people to set up interviews or set time to pitch people my idea, and it was really interesting because you could see me get nervous and all of a sudden I'm breathing heavy and
right.
It was definitely neat, and I kept on doing it all the way up until I basically signed. And
wow.
Unfortunately, I realized why it maybe hasn't been done by one person, and that's because once you do sign, it's a whirlwind, and there's so many pieces that it's hard for to do the pieces in level and try to be mindful of videotaping every moment.
Wow.
Good. Maybe this show you're on will be the intro to your documentary. You'll open up with this being on this show. That's just one thought.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I saw clips, Derek. You were kind enough to share some clips. Maybe it was a year or two ago when you started this whole thing, and I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was brilliant on your part. I said, why didn't I ever think of something like that? Or presenting that opportunity. It was really it was brilliant. And I didn't tell you this, Don. That CEO of the national headquarters, the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, when I was corresponding with them yesterday, was it 2 days ago? They want Derek to be a guest speaker at the national conference in Texas.
Wow.
Which is this year. I think it's in October or November, which is great, Derek. It's fantastic that you're going to get to present that your whole experience. Because I think it's going to give a lot of value to the collegiate entrepreneur. I think there's a lot of them out there where, not all of them, of course, but there's a lot more out there where they should consider the franchise alternative, and they don't, and so I think this could be really helpful to the collegiate entrepreneur community, so I think that's fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Derek, we have to take a quick break. Can you stick around for another segment?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And as we were saying earlier, Don, we have a great show today because we're speaking with Derek Hensley, new franchisee of Topper's Pizza. And Derek is signed for 3 stores in the Minneapolis, Minnesota market, expecting to open his first store in July of 2011. And Don, I think you're up.
Yeah, Derek, how is the Topper's training process? I imagine that's probably one of the reasons why you like, very pro Topper's, of course. Talk about the training that investors, franchisees have to go through.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense training, what they call the 28 days. They call it the 28 days opening training system. And basically what it is, it's a very intense Topper's Pizza boot camp, if you will, that goes over a span of the entire month. And you are working inside the stores a lot. They really want you to get a lot of inside store experience as much as you can. And incorporated with that, they do a lot of classroom training, making sure you understand your policies, the financial tools, make sure you can read a P&L statement. They really do a great job. Topper's, that's one thing I've always been impressed with Topper's, is that they really, really want to set you up for success, and they have so many great systems and tools to kind of assist you with that. The unique thing about Topper's in the recent past is because they're a youthful brand, they attract a lot of people my age who want to become franchisees, and which is great because you get this pool of people with a lot of energy, but the backside of it is you get a pool of people that don't have a lot of business acumen. So they have to, what they were kind of forced into doing is really developing this really sophisticated training system where they could take anybody off the street, if you've been in business or not, and really set you up for success in that manner. So.
What advice, Derek? The majority of our listeners are aspiring entrepreneurs, and they're thinking about buying a franchise. What advice would you give to them up to this point from everything you've learned in their quest to buy a franchise?
Yeah, there's 2 big things, and the first thing is really, really do your homework. Really ask a lot of questions and find out as much information you can about a franchise. They have those discovery days, going and meeting with them. It's really important to develop a relationship and a trust with a franchisor as soon as possible, and having those hard questions and seeing if they do have their financials out in the public to kind of check them out, but also make sure that you're not getting into a franchise system that are kind of closed and not really open. I believe the more open a franchise system is, the better it is. But yeah, and I guess the other thing with that is really make sure it's an industry that you can be passionate about. Too many times that people get into business just to get in business, and I think that's a road to failure because they're in love with the idea of owning a business and not in love with the idea of running a business. So you see a lot of franchisees that will get into the business, and then all of a sudden they realize they bought themselves a job. And that's the most disappointing thing for me as an entrepreneur, because I'm thinking, wow, you have this business, you should be so excited. And I see some that were not from a lot of my friends in the business world. And so, the more passion you can bring to what you're doing in anything, of course, is great. And the big thing with the business world is you have to have that passion because you're the leader, and all the people around you are working with you are going to feed off that energy. And if you're not really passionate truly what you're doing in the business you got into, then that's just going to reflect all around. So really, really search your heart, I go back to why I got into the pizza business, and to me it's because I've yet to ever see a person cry while eating a pizza.
Yes. Wow. So, that was a great response, wasn't it, Don? We've been asking that question now for 4.5 years, Derek, and it was one of the best responses. So that's fantastic. Derek, what's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee to Toppers? Is it toppers.com?
Yeah, toppers.com. There's an icon right on the left-hand side that you can get a lot more information. Toppers does have a pre-qualification questionnaire right online, and they also do publish all their financials as well, so they're very open.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. That's important. Yeah. I want to thank you again, Derek, and I hope to stay in touch with you and talk to you soon in the near future. I'm happy we finally had you on the show.
Absolutely, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
Keep up on that documentary. You definitely want to see that documentary when it's finished, Derek. Good job.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Derek. Wow, it was a great show, wasn't it, Don?
Nice to see young business people, entrepreneurs, having the confidence, getting into business. I guess it's what makes the country run,
Absolutely, yeah. It was a really great story, It's a really nice guy. He's going to be very successful. So good job, Don and segment.
Franchise Interviews. For over 4 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get inside tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Check out our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Who's helping build America one small business at a time? Franchise Inc., a free consulting service.
For years, Franchise Inc., a national company, has been helping people franchise their business concept and help folks like you own a franchise.
With over 2,500 franchise systems out there, it can be awfully confusing. Don't take chances with your future. At Franchise Inc., we've done the homework for you. We can help match your interest and background with the franchise that's right for you. And we only work with proven franchise systems with a solid reputation and track record of success.
The consultants at Franchise Inc. can help you with your short and long-term wealth strategy.
Give us a call today and we'll send you free our best-selling book, Solving the Puzzle of Owning a Franchise.
Remember, it's not just owning a franchise, but finding the right one for you. Call us at 800-961-0420 for a quick consultation to discuss what's important to you, your business, and your future.
The service is free. The book is free. What do you have to lose? Find the business that's right for you.
Call Franchise Inc. at 800-961-0420. That's Franchise Inc. at 800-961-0420.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being brought to you by Franchise Times Magazine. Franchise Times is the only magazine that targets both franchisors and multi-unit franchisees and is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. Don and I have been hosting Franchise Interviews now over 4 years and over 200 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. The nice thing about hosting Franchise Interviews is we're frequently asked to be guests on radio shows and magazine interviews on the topics of entrepreneurship and franchising. And today you're going to get to hear an interview that we did 6 months ago on CBS Radio with Lynn Johnson on her motivational talk show. And, of course, the topic was entrepreneurship and franchising. And here's what we said. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Hey, did you ever think about buying a franchise? Do you think that now is the worst time to buy one? Or you're not sure whether anyone would loan you money to purchase a franchise? How does the whole thing work? Well, let's find out. We have an expert on the line, Marty McDermott.
Hi, Coach Lynn. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's always great to talk to you. I always feel like it's a World Talk reunion, right? We get together.
I know. We started out, guys, a very long time ago. I think we're some of the only people left, aren't we?
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? But it's just, and it seems like yesterday that we started, Lynn.
It really does.
It's just incredible. But it's the success that you've had is just wonderful to watch, though. I mean, it's just incredible.
Thank you so much. And yours has been pretty fantastic. You know, Marty, just over the break, when I announced that you were going to be here talking about franchises, I got a tweet from Alice and a lot of other people, but I selected Alice's tweet.
Oh, good.
Because she says that her family has owned the same bagel shop for over 35 years.
Wow.
But now they're going to have to close because the business has slowed and their debts are too high. She wonders if setting up her own franchises could save their business. So, Marty, I know you're an expert and you host that wonderful show called Franchise Interviews on Blog Talk Radio.
That's right.
Are franchises for everyone?
Oh, great question, Lynn. It's a deep question, and definitely not. In fact, you know what? If I can quote my friend Dr. John P. Hayes, franchising is not for everyone, and it's probably not for most people. And when I say that, you know, the first time I heard that phrase, Lynn, I was a little confused because I said, if franchising isn't for everyone and it's not for most people, then who could it be for? You know, it's but franchising is really for someone who knows how to follow rules, follow systems. They're not a true entrepreneur. When I say that, sometimes franchisees get upset because they say, what are you talking about? I consider myself an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is really the person that actually creates the franchise opportunity. And, you know, when you're talking about franchisors or entrepreneurs, they're really, and you know this, Lynn, they're very creative people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can look at something.
I could never follow rules, Marty.
Exactly, and they could just create something out of anything, you know. Franchisees, and it was funny because I was in Virginia at George Mason University on Friday talking about this topic, and one of the topics I was talking about was military being good candidates for franchises because they know how to follow a system, you know. So you really have to know how to follow a system, like to follow rules, and if you can't do that, then it's probably not for you. And so, yeah, it's always a word of caution before getting into franchising.
Now, I know that you say that there are two key factors that should be present before you consider buying a franchise. What are those factors?
Well, it depends. There's a lot of different things. I mean, one is, what do you want the franchise to do for you? And, you know, for example, like I'll give you an example. I like Dunkin' Donuts. You know, I frequent Dunkin' Donuts probably several times a week. And as much as I like Dunkin' Donuts and the coffee and the donuts, I wouldn't be a good franchisee for that type of system because when you buy into a Dunkin' Donuts, you're working some pretty hefty hours.
True.
You know? So one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, what's important to you? You know, you're really taking a deep assessment. And for me, you know, my family is most important to me. So if I wasn't, you know, with my family or my son, like if he has a baseball game one day or whatever it is, I'm going to get very frustrated, even if I'm making a lot of money. You know, so you want to ask yourself, what do you want this franchise to do for you, and you know, what kind of system is the best match for you? There's so many choices out there today, Lynn. I mean, there's like 80 different industries franchising. Yeah, a lot of people, when they just think of franchising, they just think of food, but it's actually up to about 80 different industries. There's accounting franchises, there's advertising franchises, there's shoe repair franchises, you name it. It seems like they have it, you know. So you really have to ask yourself, you know, what's the best match for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of research. And, you know, of course you come down to the financials, too. And, you know, I mean, you know, McDonald's, as successful as it is, it's almost a home run every single time you have a McDonald's franchise. I can't afford one, you know. So the financial aspects are always a
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Enjoy your Memorial Day, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Franchise Interviews.